What's up, guys? Bonafide Hustler here.
Raking profit in the house.
Floating head college picker here.
All right, guys, what is going on? Welcome to the Green Room Hangout number 32 of Season 2. And today we're going to be talking about overcoming the largest pawn shop hurdles. It should be a great show. I'm the Bonafide Hustler. I reside in Austin, Texas. I flip stuff I find from garage sales, yard sales, flea markets, pawn shops, swap meets, various other places, and I put it on places like eBay, Amazon, Craigslist, my antique booth, and consignment stores in town. I'm one of the admins of the Green Room. I'll toss it over to another admin, Rakin.
Thank you, sir. What's going on, everybody? My name is Steve Rakin, a.k.a. Rakin Profit on YouTube. 28 years old, from Connecticut. Primarily selling on Amazon FBA, Craigslist, and I just opened up my eBay store. I love sourcing from garage sales, thrift stores, retail stores, and especially pawn shops. So this is going to be an awesome show. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And I'm going to pass it off to the floating head boy.
My name's Eric, also known as Floating Head Boy. Like these two clowns, I like to flip stuff that I find at garage sales, pawn shops, flea markets. I also source off of eBay a little bit, some estate sales, and I sell on Amazon. I've been doing a lot of Etsy over about the last 2 weeks, so I'm one of the only Etsy people out of these guys. eBay a little bit, Craigslist, of course, and been experimenting with OfferUp, and I am also excited to talk about pawn shops because they are a very lucrative part of our business.
Yep, that I can attest for both Rakin and CP. I've seen them in action every time they come into town for some random stuff, whether it's business or even before the Green Room started up. These guys know pawn shops. I can guarantee you that. And we're no strangers to pawn shops. We love them. We feel at home in them. And if you know exactly how to handle them, they're not scary. You can make a lot of money. So I'll tell you what, real quick. I'm really curious to see who in the feed is new to the Green Room Hangout, or maybe new to the Green Room. So if you're a new member, okay, then say I'm new, right? But if you're just new to the Hangout, say I'm new to the Hangout, my first Hangout, right? I want to see who's new in the feed. And while we're doing that, Rakin, you want to shout some people out, man?
Sure. We got Timothy Grapp in the comments, says, I love pawn shops, baby, pumped up. We got Max in the house talking about pawn shops, Hustler Hacks. We got our main man, Glenn Zubia, of hustlerhacks.com, our graphic designer and our close friend in the comments as well. Braulio FM, Green Room member, Tyler Davenport, Parker Profits, man, I like that last name, Profits. We've got our girl Thrifty Treasures in the house. We got a lot of people in the house right now, and I'm looking to see if there's any new folks that have come in right now. VFR joined the Green Room less than a month ago. Malu Jimmy in the house. Tyler Davenport says little over 2 months. So I'm not sure if there's any brand spanking new people to our show, but certainly a lot of people in the comments. So be sure to drop a line in the comments, guys. Say hello, and yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
I see James Burry says, I am new, and then there's a person named Brian Whitehead, a new Hangout. What is up? Awesome. Welcome to the Green Room Hangout. I hope you enjoy it here. If you do like this show, not only should you hit the like button like everyone else is going to do, but you should also check out all of our previous shows in Season 2 and in Season 1 as well. There are like 54 shows in Season 1, something like that, some ridiculous number. We are almost wrapping up 100 shows. This is nuts. So. Wow. Yeah, we're definitely one of the longer running shows, and we like to think that our show is a good one. So thank you for spending your soon-to-be hour here on this show. TJ Smith, I'm new as well. John Snyder, first Green Room Hangout. I'll tell you what, if you guys are wondering whether to join the Green Room, I'll do this right now. Just ask questions in the feed, and I feel pretty confident that our members will just speak for the Green Room itself, right? I don't want to spend the whole show talking about the Green Room, but if you do have a question, we also don't want to let you, just hang out there and wonder what it's like to be in or whatever. Just ask questions. We're pretty confident our members can answer it for you in the feed, which should be right there or there. I'm looking at it here, but it could be right there. I hope we sound good. Rakin, CP, you think we sound good?
You sound great.
Yeah, everything sounds clear right now. One thing I'd like to touch on is just kind of like a little house cleaning. We did launch our website, the Green Room, greenroomuniversity.com. So if you are a member, I just want to let you guys know, be sure to go register. If you're a Green Room member, you will get access to that. One more thing as well, we were offering a 1-year subscription to the green room, which was $200 per year. And we actually decided to open up a monthly option. So if you are considering joining the green room, and again, we're not going to talk too much about that. We're going to get on to the content. We are offering a monthly option as well. So go to greenroomuniversity.com. You can check out the sales page there and see if it's a fit for you. But with that being said, Chris, what is going on, man? What is the topic tonight?
The topic tonight is overcoming pawn shop hurdles. I think we can make 5 billion shows about this topic, because when it comes down to all the avenues to source, it seems like there's some scary ones out there. Pawn shops seem to be one, right? Pallet sourcing, right? That kind of seems a little daunting. Private label, right? But pawn shop seems to always rank in the higher segment, because it's like hustler against hustler if you think about it, right? We're going into a place that's really, you got people behind the counter that are constantly looking at Amazon, constantly looking at eBay, comps on Craigslist. They even list on Craigslist, right? They even list on Amazon and eBay, some of these pawn shops. Pawn shops are getting with the times. If you're thinking they're just selling locally out of the shop, you are completely wrong. Most pawn shops are actually doing business on Craigslist, if not other avenues. So, and honestly, if you scout Craigslist, it's pretty easy to see a pawn shop picture versus a non-one. Hey, CP, when you scout Craigslist for a deal, for example, do you ever see pawn shop pictures with bikes or goods or electronics or whatever?
I've seen pawn shop pictures, and I've seen pawn shop pictures that are disguised as local seller pictures, because I think people are afraid of the pawn shop, which is this exact topic.
Yeah. And then Raken, I mean, you probably, in your bike selling days, did you ever see pawn shop bikes like on Craigslist? Just, you could tell because they're in rows with other bikes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're definitely out there for sure. And some are easier and some are harder to kind of spot, but they're out there.
Okay, so let's kind of go over really quickly. That was the kind of the rehash why pawns are so scary. First of all, it's hustler against hustler. Second of all, they do a fair amount of research, right? But a lot of things slip through the holes. And then they also, it's kind of sometimes the pawn shops, you don't ever see them in like rich, wealthy neighborhoods. Usually, you see them in neighborhoods that sometimes aren't so good. So that could be part of the reason why it's so daunting. Would you guys agree to that, CP, or maybe even the feed out there? Raken, what do you guys think? I'll let the feed speak for itself as well.
A lot of times, richer neighborhoods or richer zip codes or areas will have legislation against having them, and the middle to lower class parts of town do not. So, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Raken, you've traveled to USA. Have you seen any kind of correlation between pawn shops and, let's say, not so good part of town, right? Or
Yeah. Definitely, I'd say a lot more of the pawn shops, probably 70% or more, are in areas where you're going to feel at times a little uncomfortable, just in the neighborhoods and whatnot. But I'd say 30% of the time they are in decent areas, not super high-end areas, but some of them aren't in a bad location. You don't feel nervous at all. The one thing I have noticed is the people that work inside are usually quick talkers, and they're pretty sharp, and sometimes it's a little intimidating talking to them. I've noticed I'm not trying to say they're gangsta or anything like that, but they're hustlers. They got that hustler mentality, and they're sharp, and they speak quickly, and if you're not prepared, it could be intimidating, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Most people in pawn shops work off metrics like, sales, commissions for a day or a week. So you got to think about those kind of things when you're going in. So just not only think, oh, it's a hustler against hustler, but it's also it's a business against you. A business still needs to make money, okay? They still need to pull money in, and that money is going to come from somewhere. And usually it comes from people that are willing to make deals or, bundling, like all that kind of stuff. They see opportunities to get their daily or weekly revenue up, or even monthly. So anyway, hopefully I can get one of my friends in town to speak about a pawn shop. He's one of the managers in one of the great pawn shops here in Austin, Texas. Hopefully I can get him on a show one day. But he's an actual manager of the entire shop, so he's really cool. I think that would be really nice.
Is he your pawn shop friend, or is he like your bro?
No, he's like
come over and drink beer, friend.
He's bro with me. I mean, we've ridden bikes together. He's bro with that. He's cool. Like, I mean.
So he's not gonna bro out when you tell him that you've been flipping stuff and.
No. He knows this. I mean, when I go into his pawn shop, he knows like
cool.
He's buying video games or he's buying bikes to reflip it on Craigslist. He'll even ask me like, "What do you think of this bike? What should I price it at?" It'll be like, "Hey, check out this. It's coming out tomorrow, but I'll let it go out today." And he'll bring me the way back where there's like a shed of bikes and stuff. So that's happened before too. Okay, so let's talk about people are saying they are intimidating. And while we go into this subject, if you want to put a comment in saying like, what is so intimidating about a pawn shop? I want you to answer that question right there. And if you're completely comfortable with it, then don't have to answer that one. All right. So the topic now, the first hurdle to overcome is how to get past the wall of hustler versus hustler. Okay, that's you versus them. So I put down some notes, and let's take a look. First of all, Raken, you've been to so many pawn shops across the USA. Same with CP. You got to be nice to the people behind the counters. If you want to get no deal, or if you want to get no budging in price, just be an a-hole and see what happens, right?
I've done that before too, and you saw me actually, and I learned a lesson. You remember when I went to that Cash America with you?
Mm-hmm.
I was being a big a-hole because I kind of lost my mind that these people weren't willing to like negotiate or like budge. And I hope I'm not going off on a tangent, but I've been an a-hole before, and it gets you nowhere quick, and the wall gets more and more solid the more you're an a-hole. Wouldn't you? I know you agree with that because you were just mentioning that, but yeah, you got to be nice to them. You've got to be respectful, and you've got to understand that they're doing a job and they're running a business, and it's their job to get as much money as possible. But at the same time, it's a game to them as well. So not everything is what it appears to be.
Right. CP, what are you thinking about?
I've never been an a-hole to any of them. I go in and I'm just nice and quiet.
You're nice and quiet, but you're hauling ass to the electronics and the video games. You know exactly what to look for.
I'm looking in the little cases, looking for those little model numbers.
Yeah. One of the things about being an a-hole, guys, look, it doesn't get you anywhere, but even it's more detrimental than that, guys, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because if you want to write off a pawn shop off your list, be an a-hole one time and just hope that the next time you're there that the same people aren't there. That's the easiest way to write off a pawn shop off your list. You can take it right off your route. Boom, gone. Right? Don't be an a-hole. It's really important, okay? So just keep it cool. Go into a place that has hustler versus hustler and keep it cool. The second advice I wanted to give people out there is take your time, okay? As soon as you go in a pawn shop, the hustlers are going to ask you, hey, welcome, what can we help you, what are you looking for, right? How many times do you hear that? Especially if the person's not helping someone out, right?
Yep.
Immediately. I mean, you don't even get 4 steps in the door. Hey, what's going on? What can we help you find, right? I mean, it's fast, right? So that's another reason to take your time. If they go, hey, what are you looking for? I always suggest have 3 things on your mind that you want to tell them. Like I always say, like cameras, video games. Do you guys have any remote control cars? Because I can clearly see the bike section, right? But a lot of times I don't know if they have extra games in the back or extra remote control cars, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So you can say 3 things and have them ready. Have your 3 things ready. It's the same thing with a garage sale. A little pro tip for you. When someone goes, hey, beautiful morning, right? What are you guys looking for? Have your 3 things ready. Very important because it might jog their memory and bring something from the back that they never had on the floor in the first place. Raken, add to that. So I said take your time. Would you agree taking your time is important with a pawn shop as soon as you walk in, or zooming right to the things that you want? I always like to walk not fast to where I know the money is, but just kind of casually walk around. That way I don't want to show too much interest, right?
Yeah, definitely I agree with that. One thing I'd like to add on as well is I kind of like to get an overview and like a feel for the entire floor before I and again, sometimes I break this rule if I get overly excited, but I like to kind of take an overview, like a walk around the store to kind of see what's going on. Sometimes you'll see that certain areas of the pawn shop are overflowing. Like you may see like an overabundance of bicycles, and you've been there before, and you're like, wow, that's like peculiar. Like, why are there so many bikes? Like, so I'll kind of take an overview first and take my time and kind of see what's going on, and then kind of make my decision in terms of where I want to start looking first.
CP, how about you? I don't know that you sometimes walk in, you go to video games and electronics, but sometimes you go to this clearance bin that's like sometimes close to the front, has all kinds of wacky electronics, missing all kinds of stuff. But in general, do you take your time or do you kind of rush over to where you need to go?
I sprint, get in and then get out.
It's kind of like Jameson. If you've ever seen Jameson go to a thrift store,
he'll push you out. He'll elbow you out of the way.
This guy is like Usain Bolt to the wall. Like he will go as fast as he can to the wall where the electronics are. Anyway, but shout out to Jameson with an amazing. This guy's got 4.4K Periscope followers, by the way. Did you know that?
Yeah, he's blowing up on Periscope for sure, and I don't want to brag or take credit, but I did get him into Periscope, so yeah.
At Deals by J, Dealz by J. This is a really good thrifter you want to follow. Okay, so let's get back into it. So take your time, okay? Let them know what you're looking for. Have 3 things recited in your head that you know that you like to hustle. Okay. Second thing is, don't be afraid to let them know when you're about to make some deals or asking questions, like, oh, I'm just going to pawn shops. I'm doing pawn shops today, you know, for the first half of the day. I'm just going to all these pawn shops. Now that creates a little bit of an urgency to them. They're like, damn, like if I don't get this guy something, he's going to find it down the street somewhere, and then that money could be our money, right? So I like to tell people that, or like, oh, you know, I'm not in a rush. You know, I just need to find something today or tomorrow. I'm just going to pawn shops all day. So that usually, sometimes I'll get a response like, oh, we'll make you the deal here, man. You ain't got to go anywhere else. Like, we'll make you the deal here. So that's a pretty good one. I've heard Rakin say that a couple times as well. So what do you guys think about that? CP, do you ever downplay or just kind of instill a little bit of fear to the pawn shop owners, or no?
I don't instill fear to them.
I call it instilling fear, sorry. Rakin, I know you've done it, but like, do you continue to do it?
Oh, I definitely do it, and you don't want to show too much excitement over a product. You definitely want to downplay it. You know, you could even say, you know, I only have a certain amount of cash I'm looking to spend. I'm really looking for a good deal. I mean, you could really downplay and say, you know, I'm kind of on a tight budget or whatever you want. It depends. If they know you, you don't want to, you know, play it like you're poor because you're coming in all the time spending all this cash. But I guess the overarching thing we're trying to get across is just don't be too excited. Because they'll pick up on that all day long. And at the end of the day, don't forget, guys, I mean, they're trying to sell this stuff. They're trying to bring in cash. That's their goal. And a lot of times they're getting stuff dirt cheap. Not with all products, but there's times I wouldn't doubt if they're picking up these TI-84 calculators for $6 or $7. I really wouldn't doubt it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the overall thing here, the gist of what we're trying to tell you is, you know, really aim to depower the other hustler. Okay, bring them down to your level, and because if they stay powerful hustler the whole time, it gets really crazy. If you didn't, you know how to greet someone, treat them nice, not be an a-hole. You didn't tell them your 3 things that you're looking for. You didn't take your time. Now you've only overpowered that person, and they're just going to be beaming down on you, looking at you, and you're not going to get the greatest deal. You might not get any deal. So the goal is to depower the other party. In a good way, and you'll see why. Okay, so how do you guys like the show so far? We went over one little tip right there, and we got about 5 more on the list we want to talk to you guys about. If you're enjoying it, Rakin, what do they got to do, man?
Yeah, if you're enjoying it, guys, take a second. It really helps us out to hit the like button. Just smash it. Smash that like button, guys. I'm telling you right now, if you're a content creator, if you're doing shows, if you're putting out content, it really makes us feel good and puts a smile on our face and lets us know that, you know, you appreciate it. So these are free shows, so hit the like button. That's your way to pay us. Pay us in likes.
Nice. I like that. CP, you are like doing the craziest stuff in the comments.
Yeah, I'm all in the comments. I'm responding to people. We're trying to set up like a Florida meetup for. One guy from the green room, he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I'm coming to Port Charlotte, which is like the smallest place in Florida that nobody comes to," and he wanted to get together. So me and him are getting together, and then another guy's like, "Oh, I'm from Tampa. I'll come down." And then I'm thinking about Craig Morris and all these people. So maybe we'll do a Florida get together before I go do my bike rides.
Meetups are awesome. Didn't you just have a meetup? As a little side note, Bonafide?
Yes, I did a meetup in Houston last weekend. I want to give a huge shout out to Malu Jimmy, who created the best route ever, right? And I remember in the morning when these garage sales really weren't panning out, it was like cold, slightly rainy, and windy. He was like, "Man, I don't know if it's gonna work out. I don't know." I was like, "Jimmy, it's okay. You know, you've done a good job. Your list is amazing, and this is what a hustler, you know, a hustler has to be calm and composed and know if something doesn't work out, you know exactly where to go." And so he was like, "All right." I was like, "I'm not going to hate you for this, man. If something doesn't work out in these garage sales, we're going to switch it up. We're going to go to the coffee shops. We're going to go to Goodwills. We're going to have fun with our meetup." The meetup was great, and the footage should be edited tomorrow. The next meetup that I think I might have a Naples, Florida one in early May. That's coming around. I'm pretty sure I'm going to dedicate half a day for a meetup there. And there's also going to be a big meetup in July, guys. Second weekend in July, Austin, Texas. This is the biggest of all. You got to be a Green Room member to enjoy the big parts of it. But it'll be open to all YouTube as well, some of the other parts. Okay, so it seems like people like the video. Thanks for liking the video. All right,
Appreciate
second
it.
topic, how to make a deal, the basic version. So, God, first of all, Rakin has an amazing publication about this that he spent hours and hours on his laptop creating for everyone out there. So it is on the open market. In the green room, it's free. The reason why I say topic, how to make a deal, the basic version, is because how to make a deal, we're going to try to get it done in a very small portion of time, but it takes a lot of practice, but it also takes a lot more content to deliver to you guys. We could make a whole show about how to get the best deal, but the show is about how to feel better in a pawn shop so you can actually go into them and feel good. That's the goal of the show, because we feel as if you know what to buy, you should be okay. So how to make a deal, the basic version. I gotta tell you, I exercised this when I went to a pawn shop. It was the last part of the meetup in Houston. We capped it off with 2 pawn shops on Belair Boulevard, and I want to say Chimney Rock, maybe. Okay. So there are 2 pawn shops, like right across the street from each other. We pop into one. I found a amazing calculator, which is in the garage for like $20. It sells for like 90, I think. And then hopped across the street, and I found 2 knives, right? A vintage buck knife, which, dude, my hustling has like no boundaries, first of all. But a vintage buck knife, and then a CRKT or CKRT knife. And I was trying to make a deal on it, right? But I told people around me, I was like, watch this. I was like, they're going to come back with a price, and it's not going to be my price. And I will have to walk away from this, because the first thing when you make a deal basic version is you never want to go over your set price, okay? So, CP, what happens when you go over your set price? Like, is it a good thing to do every now and then, or is it kind of a bad habit to start doing?
If you go over your set price, you're going to go home, you're going to test the electronics, it's going to be broken.
Okay, thanks, man.
It happened to me before, that's why I say that.
Okay. Rakin, you've been I keep saying it like, okay, everyone knows Rakin's been in pawn shops across the country. Rakin, like, when you have numbers in your heads when you start calculating all these, like, cameras and calculators, and what goes on when you don't get your number? Are you budging, or what's going on?
Well, if I don't get my number, there's a few different things. There's a few different routes I could take. The first route is to obviously come back with a counter offer, or the second option is to start thinking about items you could take off of the table. And the reason why you want to start thinking about possibly taking items off the table is because in some situations there may be one item that's screwing up the deal, right? The deal may be really good, but there may be one item for some reason they're just overcharging on it like crazy, or they're not taking money off of it. So you've got to figure out, okay, do I really want this lot? Like, if you're doing a bundle, maybe of like 6 or 7 items, do you want it all? Like, are these items, like, do you know, like, this is where the money's at and you have to have it? Or you've got to figure out what item is holding the deal up. There might just, like, the other day I was in a pawn shop and I was negotiating on, don't quote me on this, but I think it was 3 calculators, a camera, and it was like 2 video games, and like everything was priced accordingly, and like he was willing to negotiate, but I'm like, why is this deal not going through? Like, what's making this price so high? And I realized after further communication, it was the camera. He wasn't taking anything off of the camera. So once I kicked the camera out of the deal, it was a great deal for the games and the calculator. So to make a long story short, do you want to negotiate, or do you want to start taking things off the table, or even finding other things to add to it? Because the more you add, the more they're willing to negotiate.
That's right. But in a gist, I always put try not to budge on your price. Be real cognizant of, your price is it's all your experience coming down to one moment, right? One moment evaluating all the risk, all the buttons that turn on and off, every single thing that you've seen. You're all calculating in your head, and you're going, this is worth this to me. This is worth the risk right now, and that's what the buy price is. So when you start budging on that, all you're really doing is eating into your profit. So be careful with that.
And one thing I'd like to say as well is, when you set a bottom line price, say you're doing a bundle and the most you're willing to spend is $100. You're talking to yourself, because there's going to be a lot of talk to yourself when you're putting these deals together. You might be thinking to yourself, all right, I'm willing to spend $100 max. When they offer 105 or 110, you've got to say no. And the reason why, even though it might not kill the deal to go $5 over or $10 over, the reason why you need to say no is because you're going to be creating really bad habits if you say yes. you're training your brain not to follow the rules that you set forth. And while you may not get burned on that small $100 deal, you may have a situation where you're negotiating on a Canon 70D and 6 TI-84 calculators, and you're looking at spending $1,100, $1,200. And if you make that mistake, you could be paying big bucks in the long run. It could really hurt you. So train yourself to make the right decisions on the small deals so you're ready to go to war with the big deals.
I like that. That's basically what I told people around me when I was looking at those knives. I was like, look, I'm going to stick to this price. That's if you break the price, and John Dugan was there, the Resell Rabbit. He was like, yeah, he's like, if you don't stick with your price, it's only downhill from there. It's creating a terrible habit, so you got to be real careful. I want to address a comment that came in from Bada Boom Big Al. He said we didn't get to a comment in time, so I do want to A, apologize. Sorry, man, this feed goes pretty fast. But B, I want to say he said his simple question needs to be answered, and that was what three things was the host talking about when coming into a pawn shop. So here are the three things, and they vary. And Malu Jimmy answered this perfectly right. When you're a pawn shop, when you first walk into it, they're going to say, hey, what's going on? Can we help you find anything? I want you to have three things in your head that you are passionate about, that you kind of know about. Like if it was me, I'd go remote control cars, video games, and cameras. Or it could be remote control cars, video games, and bikes. But likely it's not bikes because I see the bikes right there as soon as I walk in anyway. But have three things that you're ready to say, and that way it starts jogging their memory like, oh, we got some cameras in the back that we never put out today, like we got to bring it out. So it's just those three things. It varies for every individual. Sorry we didn't get to your comment. Feed goes pretty fast, but we'll try the best we can next time. All right, so more about the deal, how to make the deal. Make sure to test out items if you can. That is really, really important, guys, especially when you deal with electronics. Of course, when you deal with like cartridge video games or disc video games, you're going to get a chance to test those things. But things like cameras, cameras sometimes have proprietary chargers that the batteries have to go into, and it only fits that battery for that camera. So if that's not there, the whole deal's kind of screwed up. You got to look at those kind of things. If they have AAA batteries, man, pop them in those calculators and turn them on. Okay. CP, other things to test in a pawn shop, on a whim. Like what else do you test in a pawn shop?
Anything that has a battery, anything that has a charger, anything that has a power switch, any electronic really that you could think of, any tool if you're doing tools.
Yeah, try these things. If they don't, if you wanna just fly by the seat of your pants, that's fine. Make sure they have like the 7-day or 30-day guarantee where you can bring the money back and some store credit. But if you're a traveling picker like Rakin, you're usually trying to test those things out right there in the store. Rakin, how many times you just buy stuff and you just never test it out, you never want to see it turn on, you just walk out the store because you know you've made money? That doesn't make you comfortable, right?
No, and I've done it before. I'll be 100% transparent with you guys. There's been times where, maybe 5% of the time where I've walked out, I didn't test it, maybe because I was being lazy or I just didn't fully understand the product and I was willing to take the risk. I walked out without testing it for one reason or another. Maybe it was in great condition or whatever, but it leaves you with an uneasy feeling. And I'm lucky, knock on wood, I haven't really had many returns that had to do with me not testing it out. But it's a risk, right? And you want to minimize your risk as much as possible by testing out the products before you spend the money on them.
Cool. So, and by the way, Rakin, last time you were in town, we popped into a Cash America Pawn or Easy Pawn on 7th Street. I popped on a dual mic Zoom handheld recorder. Do you remember that thing, the orange thing with the two right and left speakers?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Like $44 or $43. It sold today for $180, just so you know.
Oh man, that thing had a great rank too, didn't it?
I know. It had a 17K rank or an 18K rank. Anyway, it was a micro recorder.
There's so many items out there too. Like there's so many items. I hate to call them a replenishable because they're not a replenishable, but like when you see that item again, you're already gonna know because you've got the data to back it. You've sold it for that much money, and it's crazy. There's so many items out there, guys, at the pawn shops. You know what I love popping on? I popped on them several times now. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them at your pawn shops, but the shotgun mics by Rode. The Rode shotgun mics. They've got the black ones, which are usually the best because they're the pro versions. Then they also have the lower end ones that are red. Boy, those things sell fast, and they underprice them often.
You Rode shotgun mics are used by like every vlogger, every YouTube channel known to man, honestly. That's like the industry standard. It's like a Shure SM58 microphone for if you are a band and you play in a bar. A Shure SM58 is like the lead microphone everybody's going to buy. But I remember it's not a Zoom mic what I picked up. CP, it's actually a Tascam. You like that brand, CP?
Tascam they make good stuff.
I've got one of those.
Tascams are good. So are Zooms. I think CP had a Zoom. The first time I ever met him, he had a Zoom.
We got a Zoom somewhere here.
Now those are external. Aren't those external units that like kind of store the sound? So you like hook a lavalier mic up to it, and it stores it all pretty much.
It can pick up really insane audio from stereo audio right to a digital card that's in there or SD or whatever. CP, correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, Zoom makes a bunch of different products, but their line is cheap, good quality, really good quality sound, and it's a standalone unit. Like it's recording. Steve's saying it's recording within the unit itself versus like having to plug into a computer and picking up the sound and recording to the computer.
Yep. Got a question from Boda Big. Not very many Pawn or Goodwill Salvation around here, so I hit garage sales and Craigslist. Any other ideas? Yeah, there's some people. There's one guy in the green room. I want to say it's Timothy Grapp, who travels 1 or 2 hours to go to a town to do FBA and spends all day in that town. Sometimes he probably even spends a night. I want to say maybe his parents live there, but you got to start thinking outside of the box. Like, where can I go 30 minutes away and 1 hour away, go early in the morning and come back like 4 o'clock in the day or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I even talked to a person at the Green Room meetup. I forgot who it was, but they told me that, yeah, I mean, when they source, I know, it's Jose. And he said he comes in from Tyler, Texas to Dallas. He comes in at like 7 in the morning, hustles all of Dallas or as much as he can, then he leaves around after rush hour around 8. That's a hustler right there, coming from a town that's like an hour away or something. So you got to start thinking outside of the box, man. And trust me, you can make it happen no matter where you are. Okay, so back to making a deal. Test the items if you can. Point out flaws to your benefit. CP, do you ever do this?
Yeah, if it's something that's going to be able to knock off the price and it's just not like, hey, there's a scratch on it, or if it's something significant, I'm not gonna just throw them.
What if it's like a guitar missing a dongle? Is that pretty good?
I'm not gonna buy it.
Okay. Rakin, pointing out flaws to your benefit. What do you think about that, man?
Oh yeah, all day long. You wanna point out as many flaws as possible. You don't want to be redundant about it, but pretty much what you're trying to do is take away the value from it in a sense to kind of make them realize, okay, this thing isn't as valuable as I thought it was. Maybe it's best just to get rid of it for what I can get, so I could reinvest my money in a product that is fully, not functional, but just perfect, I guess, in a sense.
Okay. The last thing I said for how to make a good deal basic version is let them know you don't have to buy there and that you're a pretty patient buyer. What do you guys think about that? Because I do that a lot too. Like, I don't really need to have this. I just thought if I found one today, then I would go. I say that all the freaking
I've heard you say that like 100 times, man. I don't really say that much. It's not really my line, but I've seen it work for you pretty effectively, so I might have to start using it.
Yeah, you'll get yourself some Tascams.
Yeah, I just so happened to just, walk in the door and, I saw something I was somewhat interested in. I mean, I might take it, I might not.
I was running down the sidewalk and I tripped and I accidentally fell into the pawn shop right where your electronics case is. I don't need to have this right now, but since I've tripped and I've fallen in this pawn shop, maybe I should do it. Okay, so we got people in the comment feed loving the show. Thank you so much. Like I said, the best way to support the show right now, we're not asking for any of your money, nothing of that stuff. I want you to like the show. But you know what? We do want to give you something. We're not going to ask for anything besides a like, but we are going to give you something for free if you don't have it already. And the people in the feed that already have this, I hope you have saved it on your phone because this is the season to use this guide. Bacon, what is it and how can they get it?
Yeah, so you could go into the description. There's a link. And it's our free guide. So it's the first link. Get our free guide, 100 amazing items to resell. Just put in your name and email. We'll send that over to you. And you'll get a PDF download instantly that showcases 100 items that we buy quite often from thrift stores, garage sales. I don't know if there's any retail stuff types of items in there, but 100 items that you could buy and sell that can make you a lot of money. And also, when you put your name and email in, you're going to get access to tons of free emails and kind of newsletters that we send out. And we don't spam you. We probably send about maybe 1 to 2 emails per week. So yeah, check it out for sure in the comment in the description.
There you go. We got a comment just came through. I love that 100 items book. So,
oh, Caps, he really loves it.
yeah, I really like it. I got to tell you, man, I remember when we built it, I knew my 25 well came with 25 to the table, Rick, and well, actually we came with like 30, and then we whittled it down. So we really should have made it 120 items to resell, but some was overlap, right? And I remember that after I was done with my 25, I looked over to all the other people's contributions in our team, and I was like, man, there's some really interesting things in here that I didn't know about, that I have hustled hand over fist all the time, and I'm like, you know what, that was Young's, or that was Eric's, or that was Rakin's. So quite honestly, when you think you know everything, I can guarantee you don't, and this guide will definitely help you out. Okay, so let's talk about the next topic. We're going to start going through these because I got 6 things I want to talk about. We're down to number 3 now. Down to number 3. We're only at number 3. Topic. They won't work with me. What do I do? All right, this one's a good one because this is kind of prominent. I would say this is 50-50 in the pawn shops you go to. This will happen 50% of the time. Now, maybe not in some other people's pawn shops, but in my pawn shops in my town, 50% of the time, you're not going to work with me. What do I do? Rakin, what happens right there, man, in that situation?
Well, I don't know if I understood you correctly, but if they're not willing to work with me at all, and like there are some pawn shops out there that it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, I've got one that's in my town about 20 minutes from me, and it's a small little kind of franchise one, and they're just not willing to negotiate on anything. They don't drop the price. I could bundle, I could offer cash, I could give back massages, and I give a great back massage, guys, so never mind. You know, I'd be willing to do anything, and they just will not drop it for whatever reason. So usually I'll just cross it off my list for the most part, and the reason why I'm putting that a disclaimer for the most part is because even when I cross a pawn shop off my list, I still like to check in from time to time because once in a while they just drop the ball like crazy. But if they're not willing to work with me, then I'll find another place, or we'll talk about that after. I'll try to sweeten the deal even better, which maybe CP could touch on.
Yeah, CP, they won't work with me. What do I do?
I'm going to ask them, what will you work with me on? Like, if you don't want to make a deal on that camera, like, point me to your clearance bin, point me to the stuff that's been sitting in here for 5 or 10 years. And some of these pawn shops are literally like hoarders, just like stacks of freaking VCRs and Sony cameras and stuff. They just have outrageous prices on. So I would ask them, if you don't want to make a deal on this, tell me what will you cut a deal on? Like, what has been here so long that just give me a great price, or I'm out of there.
Okay. So first of all, I want to add was when Ray had said something, it kind of jogged my memory on something that happened about 3 weeks ago. I was riding with E-Money, who's my brother, and we were riding in the northern part of Austin, Texas, riding our bikes around. We were going to Taco Deli and some pawn shops and some thrift stores. We kind of like to do it every now and then, like not be in a vehicle, ride a bike, enjoy the open air, all that stuff. So I was like, oh, there's this one pawn shop down the road. They never cut any deals, man, and I have somewhat written it off my list, but I was like, let's go there, man, and let's check it out. So we roll up there, and sure enough, I didn't find anything, right? But E-Money walks in and finds this lens for it's a Canon ultrasonic lens. I think it's a Canon. Okay, ultrasonic lens.
Nice.
I think yeah, I know. So he buys it for 80? No, maybe 50. Yeah, it was 50. He buys it for 50. It sold yesterday for like $219 or something like that. Something crazy. The rank was like sub 100. I mean, I knew it was going to be like that, but like just to find that in there, I was like, dude, these people. And those ultrasonics are, when you look at them closely, a lot of them have that fade on the rubber, right? It has that haze, and you can't get it off. You just sell it like that. So that's the second one he sold in the past 3 months, or 2 months actually. The first one was at a garage sale for like $5, maybe $2.
Yeah.
He sold it for like $230 or something, or $240.
If you don't know what you're doing with cameras and camera lenses, you could screw up big time really easily, because sometimes there's different model numbers and there's different marks that if you miss it, your value could be way off. And I'm not even an expert. I don't consider myself an expert with cameras still. I bet you CP understands it more. But what are your thoughts on that, CP, in terms of like if you read the model number wrong or you type in something just
there's so many things that with lenses, especially because there's the F number could be off. It could be the same millimeter, but the F number could be off. The 70 Mark II and the Mark III. So it's a lot of things that could get you excited, especially those Canon Pixma Pro 100s that everyone flip.
Those are like on everyone's Craigslist now for like $100.
Yeah, because it's restricted.
I know. See, the funny thing is they're not restricted on used. So I've always wondered, like, why don't you just open up the box and then reclose it up and then send it in?
It's all used, but people are selling it in the description. It says it's brand new, but the price isn't that much.
Shoot, the last time I checked, it looked pretty good. Anyway, they're all over every Craigslist I've looked at. I looked at Houston's Craigslist before I even went into Houston to see if I could score a really awesome printer deal, and I was about to, but I couldn't. But not on one of those. It was something else. But you know, I was in Houston for the meetup, not for hustling. Was not my number one priority, but I found some great stuff. So yeah, well, let's go back with that. They won't work with me. What do I do? So I put down here on my notes, like, you know, understand you're the one with the money, right? You're the one who controls. That's how you can easily depower a hustler across the counter. You have the money. The second you walk out, they're powerless. They can't do anything. They can do nothing, right? The only thing they can do is like, well, what do you want to pay? You know, or I can do this, right? Like, you're the one with all the control. You have the money, so never be afraid to just walk out the door, kind of like a car dealership, or just go see another pawn shop. I saw a comment in the feed from Troy Wiedemann. I want to say I got the pleasure to meet this guy in the Green Room Hangout, and I got to tell you, man, he said, you know, there are 179 other pawn shops in Houston I can go to. So he's got it down to a number, which is just crazy. That's how you can be a pretty big a-hole, though. Don't tell him that number when you leave. Don't be like, whoa, man, there's 179 other pawn shops I'm going to go to. See you later. Like, that's not going to be good. But his mind is thinking in the right direction, right? And that is there's always another hustle. There's always another pawn shop. So where one pawn sucks, another one will die to have your money. But don't ever show frustration. Leave like, yeah, okay, it's not a big deal. You know, I like, oh, it's not a big deal, you know, but see you guys later, right? That's a nice way to leave a pawn shop. And when you come back, they're like, oh, it's that guy again that never buys anything because we're always overpriced. But he's still in here. So, you guys want to add anything to that, or should we go to topic number 4?
I want to ask a quick question to you, and I know people are probably thinking this. So they go and they find a bunch of items from the pawn shop, and they're getting ready to pay. Do you recommend that somebody says, hey, the most I'm willing to pay is this, and kind of throw out a number, which, again, if I was willing to pay 100 max, I would say, yeah, here, I'm looking to buy these items. I'm looking to pay around like $80. Or do you take the bundle of items or the one item, Chris and Eric, and you give it to them and say, what's the best you would take on this? What are your thoughts on that? Because I know people are thinking like, how do they approach that situation?
I've done both ways. I can say that the first way is a little bit more unsuccessful. When you have a bundle in front of you and you're like, look, can we do like $100 for this stuff? I usually find out that doesn't work as well as the other way, which is, what's the best deal you guys can do? What's the best cash deal you can work on this right now? And then usually that's not the best deal. But they'll shoot you out something and be like, look, I was really thinking about paying, $120 out the door. So if we can get that done, I got the money right here. I can say it like that. But if you would have come back to that deal, and they're like, look, we can do 140, bring it to 120, don't shoot for the 100 because that's pretty much not going to happen. But if you look at the deal and you're like, all I got's $100, they'll be like, yeah, right, dude, come on, man. Step it up a little bit. They won't even tell you that. They'll just be like, we can't do that. So, and you look like a fool. Now you're the one without the power, right? It's better to anyway, but that's how I handle it. There's, is there a right way? There's certainly people that have been to more pawn shops than I have, but I've been to thousands. I've been to tons. I've been doing this crap for years. It was usually with bikes starting out like 8 years ago, but it's morphed into everything, man. I listed a pair of boots the other day that are on my eBay that I found at a pawn shop for $40. I think I listed them for like $240 or something like that because I'm never gonna wear these. The rattlesnake boots.
The rattlesnake boots.
But dude, I bought them like 3-4 years ago. I mean, like a long time ago, and I wore them like 2 times. They're too nice. Like I'm sitting there like, it better not rain today. I better not see any mud. I better not have to hop across a curb and then slip and fall and bust up my, they're too nice. So I'm like, this is not my lifestyle, man. Anyway, so what is the right answer, CP? What do you think, man?
They say the first person to mention a price is the loser.
Yeah.
You see, I've had the situation, I've experimented with both. I've thrown out numbers and I've said, well, hey, I don't really know what's the best you would take. And I've been successful with both, and I've failed at times with both. But what's really coming to me is like a lot of times when I'll mention a number first, it kind of sets the stage for them, because I've noticed a lot of times, like if you just ask them what's the best deal, they'll drop it like Cash Pawn America. Typically, they'll only drop it like the most they'll drop it is like 20 to 25%. Other times, like they have a rule, like I'll only drop it 10%. So if you set the stage, letting them know like, listen, I'm not here to pay anywhere near retail. I found at times that with certain people, they just agree to it. But then again, other times it's just it doesn't work. So I mean, my advice to you guys is experiment with both. I've had a time where I was willing to pay. I think I was willing to pay like $40 for a TI-84 calculator, and I always use this example because I love calculators. And like I was expecting them to say 30 or 40, and she's like, "All right, $10," and I'm like, what? $10? I'm like, I never would have even offered anything near that. Like I would have maybe said 25. So experiment with both. You freaking never know.
Yeah, that's kind of like Reagan says, experiment with both. I lean more on the side of like, pro tip number one, don't ever say the price first. I think that's but I've seen Reagan in action. I know he's completely capable of his strategies. My strategies work, and that's what's cool about a pawn shop. It's a fun place to do all strategies, right? You should never be afraid to go out there and try to, hustle a pawn shop. So important.
What's the worst that could happen? Like, say the most you're willing to pay is 100, and you say, listen, like I'm only looking to pay around $80 cash. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. If you say like $80, then they might go, oh well, we need about 100. But that might be your original like offer. Like in your head, you're like, okay, but you can downplay your original. You can do all kinds of stuff. There's so many tactics to do. There's so many tactics. I mean, if you think about it, like I'll downplay an original when I don't see like the right lanyard cord with the camera or the charger. I'm like, all right, look. Inherently, this camera is worthless at this point because now I got to find that charger. I got to find the right cord for it. I got to find everything. So this is what I would pay for it. If you can't come down to this, not a big deal, right? And I'll say some crazy lowball amount because it inconveniences me to find all the other remaining pieces of that deal even before I can put it to FBA, right? Because when you're dealing with FBA, you want it as complete as possible. We're not talking down to like the freaking Nikon picture CD that comes with the Nikon cameras. We're talking at least the charger, at least the cord. If something comes with an HDMI cable and it's pretty like you need to have it, like a Wii or a Wii U or something, or Wii U should I say, you probably want the HDMI cable as part of the deal. Anyway, we're off topic a little bit on that one. But someone said here, Cody, please hit me up in the green room with your question. That's a really good question. I would love to know more about your story about that bike. Cody is one of our members in the green room, all the way from Australia, so the green room has no boundaries, by the way. Topic number 4, I don't know what to look for. What do I buy? So on top of a pawn shop being a scary place, maybe you don't know what to look for in a pawn shop because quite honestly, the pawn shop's not going to have toasters. Well, they might, but like for the most, they're not having toasters and trinkets or any of that stuff, right?
They have toasters all the time. You're just not going to flip them for anything.
Okay, so maybe they have one toaster in the entire USA in a pawn shop, and CP knows where it is.
There's no toasters? I got a new ebook coming out, 101 Killer Toasters. Man. What are you talking about, man? Why you?
101 killer toasters to buy while massaging a pawn shop.
You just ignore the toasters.
But you're not gonna find everything in a pawn shop, okay? There are things that are like you're not gonna find tablecloths. You ain't gonna find, see, I want to say expensive leather jackets, but you do. So I'm trying to find things, flannel shirts. Okay, you're not gonna find things like that. You're gonna find things with really good value, really good markets, typically. So, when it comes to I don't know what to look for, what do I buy? I'm gonna have to say, first of all, the people that win in the pawn shop game are the people that are constantly trying to evolve in the scary game that is a pawn shop to begin with. But you really have to be well versed in I would say electronics, watches, sunglasses, things like that, the typical things you see behind the glass in a pawn shop, video games, all that kind of stuff. So we'll just give you guys a little bit of I put down some main things that I see most people like scurrying to when I go on a hangout or a meetup and I see people in pawn shops and I watch them in live doing what they do. Calculators, raking, right? Calculators, mm-hmm. I mean, it's easy money, always usually low rank. CP, point and shoot cameras, not SLRs and all that kind of DSLRs, but point and shoots, right?
Certain ones, yeah.
Right, yeah. Certain ones, but point and shoots I see are pretty decent. Pocket video recorders, CP, you know about those, right?
If the price is right.
We're talking about like Kodak, is it the Mio or whatever? You know what I'm talking about, Mino or something like that. But yeah, pocket video recorders, even before pre-cell phone, pre all that kind of stuff. We're talking about redundant kind of things. Pocket audio recorders, like mini, you'll see some mini tape ones, but I'm talking about the ones with the internal memory. Rick, and you know what I'm talking about on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Watches, if you're good. Watches are pretty cool to look for in a pawn shop. Every pawn shop's going to have watches. Neon signs are pretty cool, too. I just flipped a neon sign locally that I found at a pawn shop. Spent 30, sold it for 80. The guy even showed me a picture of what it is looking like in his bike dungeon, which is the living room of his house. I'm not even kidding. So I'll show you guys that in the green room. If you remember, I'll show you the picture of what he sent me. It's a pretty crazy picture. Second to last topic, 850. Rakin,
Yes, sir.
tell everyone to like our broadcast one last time before we get this show, our last 10 minutes going, man.
You tell him. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Well, CP tells him. He never tells me.
Man, just give him some direction, man.
What am I telling? I was in the middle of a comment.
Wow.
Oh.
Hit the like button if you want College Picker to wake up. You got to get him a Doppio Bonafide, man.
It's 1 minute past my bedtime.
He's studying for all those college exams. That's why he's so tired.
Now hit the like button if you enjoy this content. There was a comment that came in a couple minutes ago saying something along the lines of, "We appreciate you getting into the detailed information," and we're glad to provide that with you guys. A lot of times, I know we talk about things on a more broad sense, but a lot of times the magic happens when you really grind into the details. So, yeah, if you got any questions, let us know. We're down to answer them for you. But hit that like button. We appreciate it.
All right, we're going to answer this one question in sub 10 seconds, but I thought it was kind of interesting. I have 100 empty ink cartridges. How do I make money with them? I thought back in the day you can take them to Costco, get some credit, and was it Office Max or Depot?
I know they recycle them, but I don't know if they'll give.
Yeah, but you get credit in one of these stores for bringing in like old cartridges, and like maybe $5 for every 2 or 3 that you bring in. There's something like that out there still. But just keep that on your mind. I know Costco still does it too, but I don't know if they give you money or if they just give you more ink on a new cartridge. I forgot. I don't mess with ink cartridges anymore. I'm all toner. That's why I don't know the true answer to that question. Topic. These places are scary. They're in bad neighborhoods. We kind of hinted on this at the very first part of the show. If you feel unsafe, don't go, okay? And you're really going to know what's unsafe and what's not. But for the most part, you got to understand this one thing, and that is pawn shops are not in good neighborhoods usually, okay? Usually. So one of two things has to happen. Either you're going to write off pawn shops completely off your, like, I can't source from pawn shops, I feel too scared, or bite the bullet and start going into them. I mean, that's really all you can do.
Or you can watch, after this live show, we're going to have a 30-minute special on self-defense and martial arts. So if you want to learn how to protect yourself, Bonafide's going to be running a women's self-defense class after this. So.
Okay. I didn't know I was part of that, but I feel like I can deliver. So yeah, if you feel unsafe, don't go. If you determine something is off, don't go. But here's one thing also. The people behind the counters at pawn shops, typically, there's like the immediate line of people, which are like the pawns, right? If you take like a chess, sometimes they're strapped, sometimes they're not. There's always like a little button that they can hit where it's like it brings the cops within like 40 seconds, some crazy stuff like that. In the worst parts of town, the cops can respond within 40 seconds, usually, right? But if it's not that, it's like sometimes within 2 or 3 minutes. So they just hit a little button and then just have a little conversation with a dude that's like stirring up some you-know-what, and then before you know it, the cops are there. So they don't have to make any physical calls, but sometimes the person behind the glass that you never get to see, that person is packing pretty good. So be careful. Just know that if you're in a pawn shop, you see some crap going down, which is not out of the ordinary. I've been to so many pawn shops where people are just raising hell and going crazy and like, oh my God, give me back my item, or you ain't gonna give me anything for this one, and going crazy. But they have it. They see this all the time, and they have it. They're not gonna conduct business like that all the time like that. They know how to handle those things. And so anyway, the hood can be scary, I think, but I've done so much work in the hood, not with pawn shops, but with territory jobs and consultant jobs, and hood people are really cool people. They just want to be heard and acknowledged. Man, it really was what it comes down to. And they're strapped for cash a lot of times, so you know, they flip out. It's just the way it is. I don't know how to really else to explain it. Okay, so let's go into the last one. So yeah, if you're gonna go into a pawn shop, try to rob it, don't do it with a knife, right? They're all probably packing and they're strapped and they're gonna have the cops there within 40 seconds. So you ain't getting anywhere.
Create a diversion.
That's right. Create a diversion. Pull out Rakin's How to Hustle a Pawn Shop book in the middle of the pawn shop. Anyway, topic. Aren't stolen things at pawn shops? Ooh, this is a good one, right? This can scare the bejesus out of most people, right? Because you never know if you're going to get the stolen item or not. CP, you happen to be here 1 year ago, to the minute and the second. No, I'm just kidding. But about a year ago, and you hustled. Was that an iPhone? What did you get from that pawn shop?
I think it was an
Mar?
original iPhone, or no, it was an iPhone 5. I think it was iPhone 5 at the time.
Okay, and what happened? So you buy this thing out of a pawn shop that's, it's in a medium crappy neighborhood, but it's not bad. I mean, we weren't uncomfortable, but you go in there and I don't know what I pulled the trigger on that day, but I know you pulled the trigger on this iPhone, right?
Yeah, the phone was dead. We didn't charge it. We just got it, and then it had a good return policy, and I was hanging out in Austin for a couple of days, so I was like, whatever, we'll just go home and charge it, and then if I have any problems, I can bring it back. And it was either iCloud locked or the IMEI came up dirty after I turned it on. But they took it back. It was no problem afterwards. But that's one of the most stolen items are phones.
That's right. Phones. You're going to see a lot of stolen phones. I would even venture to say GPSs, bikes, right? I've had a sheriff at my door, all right?
Really?
Like knocking on it. Oh, yeah. I'll tell that story at another time. But for the most part, I've had a sheriff at my door ready to kill me because he suspected I had a stolen bike. That's for another thing, you know. As long as you have your receipts, as long as you know where you bought it from, you know, you're off the hook. You really are. So you don't have to be doing the checking of the item versus the police databases and all that kind of stuff. That's their job, right? But what CP did, you were trying to act it. What were you trying to get? How did you figure out it was stolen, CP?
Swappa.com has a service. Swappa has an IMEI checker, so you can type it in there and to see if it's clean or not.
Okay, and what do you put in this checker? What is it like when you get on this website? For anyone out there, it's like, ooh, they have phones at pawn shops. That's great. I'm gonna start going to pawn shops. Like, what do you do when you have a phone and you're like, you go? Is it like an ISBN? Like, what kind of number is this thing?
It's like an internal serial number that's on every phone. It's different, and it goes into a database if it's stolen.
Okay, cool.
Or blacklisted, or if it's clean, it'll come up as clean. So.
And they're supposed to do that. The pawn shop's supposed to have done that.
They're
right?
supposed to do it, or it goes into holding for 30 days, and they put all the serial numbers into a database. But I mean, things slip through the cracks. People don't report all the things that are stolen, so it's not going to get into the database in the first place. So there are definitely stolen things in pawn shops, but you know.
Has that scared you from making the money that you've made in pawn shops, which I know you've made a lot, and same with Rakin, but has that scared you away?
Not at all, because there's a legal process with anything. Like the government can steal property from people, but there's like a legal process to do it, and then you break terms, you come and do it, and it goes to auction, and it basically went through a legal process to become not stolen anymore.
Okay. Rakin, you ever come across something stolen, or does it ever on the back of your head when you go into pawn shops, is it making you scared to go into pawn shops?
No, it doesn't really scare me, but every once in a while you will see some big buff men in there, and you know they're cops, and you see their little sheriff badge on the side and whatnot, so you know there's stolen items in there, right? There's definitely items in there that are stolen, but again, as long as you have your receipts and stuff, you should be fine.
What about strong hands for a possible massage on the police officers?
I've tried it before, and I got punched out, so don't try that again.
Okay. So clearly we have found out through this show that you have some weird hand fetish thing with pawn shop people and aka the cops as well.
To say the least.
Yeah, I know, man. It's all good, dude. Okay, so we are rounding out. Man, we have blasted through that last one. You know, I would say be careful with certain bikes, phones, things like that. You know, that when that thing happened to me and I had the sheriff at my front freaking door, I mean, it was like one of those like Chris Hansen things, like, why don't you have a seat over there? You know, like one of those things. And and I felt like to catch a hustler, right? It was like not like to catch a predator, but like to catch a hustler. It was like I'm on TV, but I wasn't. But either way, it was perfectly fine. Everything played out just. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. This was a long time ago, so I don't want everyone to think like, man, he's stolen bikes every freaking time you go into Ponch. Not even like once. This is like the only time this has happened in my 12 years of hustling at pawn, or 8 years of hustling at pawns. So think about the statistics. Am I going to write pawn shops off my list? Absolutely not. Okay, so that pretty much does our show. I will leave the comments open for like 2 minutes. Maybe we can answer a couple questions, but for the most part, if you enjoyed the show, I would love to pass it over to CP to handle this next segment, but he's probably studying for his exams.
No, I'm in the chat.
That's good. You're doing a great job. I see you like more than anybody else in there. So, hit the like button is so important, guys, to hit the like button. But equally as important than that, if you've already hit the like button, you're like, well, how else can I get some information out of this show because it was a good show? Then you can get our guide, which is down below, right down there. There's a link. If you just take your eyes and like pivot about 60 degrees, you'll see this link, and if you hit it, it's got for your email. You'll get some really wonderful, well thought out email posts that we've all created, the admin team, and that's just the added bonus, right? Because the 100 amazing items to resell guide will be there as a PDF, and you can put it right on your phone and look right through. It's amazing. So that is the show. Let's see here. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tell by the size of a here's one. I'm going to get this one real quick. I saw what's happening in July. Amazing green room meetup. Second weekend in July. Huge meetup coming on. I'm talking like we have about 125 people coming. It's big. It's real big. When hopefully maybe that'll whittle down, but I'm thinking it's 125. As of last week, it's 125. There was one last question. Let's get it. Let's answer this thing. Oh man, they're all coming at one time here. Here, TJ Smith, can you tell by the size of a pawn shop whether it's going to be worth going in or not? I love this question. This will be the last question of the night. Rakin, can you tell?
Absolutely, yes. I'll put it short and sweet, yes.
Okay. At the same time, if you can tell a pawn shop whether it's going to be worth it or not, if you see a pawn shop in a little bit in disarray and crap is stacked on top of each other, they don't even have the shelves to stack things properly. So you start seeing all these. Man, we were at a pawn shop in Houston, and it's just like this one section had crap in it, and I'm talking like headphones down to like Motorola walkie-talkies down to everything in this one section.
It's like a freaking museum.
I was like, what is going? It was just stacked like this. It looked like the side of the bricks out of that Hobbit movie, man. It's like all these bricks all over each other, and I'm just like, can I see that? Can I see that? And all the green room members around me were like, hey, can we see that? Can we see this? And I love disarray. Disarray in a pawn shop is a good sign because it means that they're looking to flip. I love when I find items in pawn shops that don't have price tags too. That's great too. So anyway, there's some last comments for you or last remarks from us. Last chance at thumbs up's what College Picker said. And great show, gentlemen from Thrifty Treasures. Thank you so much. Steve.
I'd like to ask a question. We were talking about this the other day, Bonafide. You remember how we were talking about possibly doing this for the green room members? After each show, we were considering it, and we want to know what people think. After each show, we were thinking about doing a bonus 15-minute kind of after-party show just for the green room members. I want to know for the green room members out there, would that be something cool for you guys? Because there's so many questions still coming in, but we obviously can't get to them all. Let us know in the comments. Maybe you could communicate that better. You remember when we were talking about that?
Like a private lightning round.
Yeah, maybe like once a month or something like that, we'll have just an after party. I think 15 minutes is kind of on the short side, so maybe 30 minutes or maybe an hour. One or maybe two or more of the admin team can be present sitting there in a hangout, and we can just have a little shindig, right, where we all hold each other's legs up and we, do keg stands and stuff, just like college days, right? No, but you know what I'm talking about. It's one of those kind of things. So it looks like, who is going to say no to that, Rakin? That's the most loaded question I've ever heard.
I went to a real estate seminar a couple days ago, and the guy was like, how would you like to make an extra $1 million per year? How would you feel if your bank account had 6 extra zeros at the end? It's like, no, I don't want that. No, I'm not interested. But what I'm trying to say is we're always trying to figure out ways. We love everyone who's watching now. If you're a green room member or not, we don't discriminate. We love all you guys. We appreciate you guys. You're like family. But we really try to add a little, not a little more, a lot more value to our green room members because, you know, they really contribute a lot and make up the community and stuff. So just this week, didn't you do a private show just for the green room members?
Yeah, I did. I did a private show. I got another one. Episode 2 of Garage Selling 101 comes this Friday. I want to say it's going to be at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock Central Time. It's going to be a private show where you can comment live. But we did one last week, and it was the first of Garage Sale 101, Episode 1, and it was how to build my trusty list. I'm talking right down to I didn't leave anything out. This is how I make my list for garage sales.
Screencasting and everything, man.
Yep. This is how I make my garage sale list on the weekends, man. Talking about spilling all your secrets, I mean, I did it right there, and I'm about to spill more secrets on this Friday's show, 2 o'clock. I've been to, I think, about 5 zillion garage sales. If I'm counting correctly now, about 5 zillion. And, you know, I'd like to say that all of us here are very experienced with garage sales, and it seems like a lot of people in the feed. But there's so much that, you know, if you put it in one place and it's a comprehensive place where you can watch the video and you can really figure out where you're lacking something in this game. And that's what we aim to do on these little micro hangouts with screen shares is we're putting all the information in one place for you. And, you know, that way you don't have to go searching for it all over the freaking YouTube or whatever. It's right there. If you're a green room member, you can see it, and if you're lucky, you can see it live.
And
so
we also, sorry to cut you off, Chris, but I really wanted to mention this. For the green room members out there as well, we released the Amazon FBA beginner course as well for all the members. So if you are a green room member, again, like I said, we launched our Green Room University website. If you are a green room member, we launched our Amazon FBA beginner mini course, which Yang and Eric put together. It's a 4-part series for the people who, I know a lot of the people who are typically used to selling on Craigslist and eBay. It's a really big like transition going to Amazon FBA from like just figuring out how to like set up a seller account, figuring out how to understand the dashboard, understanding the Amazon seller app, like sending out your first shipment, like that's like it's like a huge overarching task. So Eric and Yang did a great job on that. So if you are a green room member, check that out as well. But yeah, we'd love to have you guys as a future green room member. If you're interested, go to greenroomuniversity.com. And you'll be able to learn about what we offer and the value that we can add to your life. It's a great community. We've got about 517 members now, going strong. And again, like I said before, we have a monthly or yearly option if you're interested in joining. Again, no pressure. I don't want it to sound like I'm selling you on this or anything, but we're proud of it. We really are proud of it, and we think it can make a difference. And just today, we had a Connecticut meetup that I ran, and had a green room member there, and it's funny, we had about 7 or 8 guys and one female. And guess what? That female, Katie Kosi, right? Katie Kosi, is that how you pronounce her name?
Kachi.
Little girl, 5'2", looks all innocent. Like maybe you'd think if you just saw her, like, oh, she doesn't know how to hustle. She doesn't know how to resell. She out-hustled each and every one of the men that were there. Every single one of them, including myself. She kicked everybody's butt, and you're going to see the vlog come up. These green room members are freaking killers out there, and if you want to become a killer hustler, consider joining, right? So that's my pitch right there, but we believe in it, and we'd love to have you. Anything else you want to say, Chris or Eric?
Timothy Grapp said the green room is worth every penny while you were doing your monologue.
Cool.
That's awesome.
The last part of housekeeping, by the way, next week's show, which should be the 30th, we are going to have How to Hustle in a Different Country, special guest, the man from Australia himself. We have Cody Orgel. All right, he's got a YouTube channel, Cody Orgel. But yeah, he lives in Australia. There's no FBA in Australia, guys, which is crazy. So we're going to see how he makes it happen in a completely different country, and we're going to get the whole lowdown of the Outback. So that's next week's show, and then the show after that's going to be a real awesome one as well, and that one is called FBA Fatherhood and Fun. So that's going to have our green room member Jason Clark, who's a freaking animal in the green room with his live videos that he just shoots on his cell phone and teaches people what is up. That's the weekend after that, or that's the week after that. So every Saturday, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time, come to this channel, and you will see the latest green room show. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the room. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.